Hello friends, thank you for joining me again today. So I called this broadcast Finishing Touches because that's what I thought it was. And then as soon as I start looking at it, I go, oh, wait a minute. There are more touches than I was aware of. So, oh boy. I was hoping this is going to be a really quick, this is going to be a 20, 30, 25-minute broadcast. Short the way they're supposed to be on YouTube, of course. Anyway, let's get official with my broken clapper. This is Daily Art Adventure number, gotta look for something to whack it with, 918. This stick is getting stickier and stickier, I've got to admit. I'm going to order a new clapper. Hello, David Mercer. Yeah, I was out riding yesterday. Oh boy. There's actually more story there to that than you think. I did end up at it's a long story, I probably shouldn't get into it, but anyway. I ended up, quote unquote, participating in a Black Lives Matter protest. Because 2 days ago, day before yesterday, because they and I just happened to end up at the same place at the same time. So anyway, I don't want to go into that. I don't have the energy for that. But welcome. And I spent nearly 2 weeks doing a mural to answer David's question, and they didn't want me to broadcast inside their building. So, all right. So here's the photograph from which I'm painting. By far the biggest difference I made is this is a flash photograph, and it's catching her dress, her shoes, all the way up. So I changed that and faded out down here. That's the biggest change. I'm quite happy with the bride's likeness, and I thought I was close to finished with the groom until just a few minutes ago, and that old thing, that old thing, fresh eyes. You look at a painting with fresh eyes, and you see things you didn't see. That's certainly the best tried and true technique for achieving a perfect likeness in a portrait, is just keep coming back to it, keep coming back. But I am a little dismayed because I thought I was closer to finish. Be that as it may. This is an unusual assignment for me in that, now this dear girl was married 20 years ago, so this is a anniversary gift from the bride's parents to their daughter. And when I was told that Darcy had been married 20 years, I was shocked for a minute, and then I realized, oh, wait a minute, my daughter, who's several years younger, or a couple years anyway, a couple years younger than Darcy, has been married 16 years. And then it was just one of those, ay, I'm getting old moments. Everybody's older than you think. That's what it's like to get old. I tell myself and tell my kids all the time, here's one really good reason for not being famous. Not that there aren't several, but here's one, is that if you're famous when you're young, people get to watch you age, and everybody's continually shocked at how old you are. Take, say for instance, somebody my age. Take Mark Hamill of Star Wars fame, right? Everybody my age, I remember watching Star Wars #1 in the movie theater in 1977, and Mark was this young actor. So was Harrison Ford, a young actor. They were and so was, what's her name? They were all young, and now they're all old. Oh boy, we look at old actors and go, yee la walla woo, boy, they got old. I mean, everybody gets old, right? But nobody looks at me that way. You guys are completely, probably, you didn't know me when I was young. Anyway, all right, back to back from rambling. Bring it back from the edge, Dan. So Darcy's parents are old friends. Old. Whoops. No, they're not that old. They look really good. Doug and Donnie look fabulous. Which is usually followed by something like, I hate you. You know, that's the American way anyway. You look so good, I hate you. You have all your hair, I hate you. What have you done to your skin? I hate you. Anyway, so great fun to be, and there's a figure that you can barely see here way in the back. That's my old friend Doug. We literally knew each other when we were in our 20s. He's a couple of years older. Oh, older than I am. So this is fun. And I'm nearly finished with this portrait. I'm not going to spend this entire broadcast waiting, necessarily working through this, partly because I'm afraid it needs a little more work than I have time and patience to give it right now. I'm going to start by, am I zoomed in all the way? Yeah, now I am. I'm going to start by simply messing up this corner of his mouth with a dark paint. Same thing over here, just messing it up, that's all. Same thing here with his nose, messing up. And one of the slight modifications that I was aware of before my dismay revelation of 10 minutes ago was the outside corner of his eye here. It's a little. The photograph from which I'm working, you may be able to see, is not very good at all. And that really does hamper things. Am I still on? I am. Okay, good. Whoops, we have some static. Let's fix that. There we go. Let's see. Hello, yes, 749. That's an interesting name. Glad you caught me as well. I appreciate it. Hello, Barbara. How are you doing? Have you gotten a lot of painting done, my dear? You know, I really have. I counted up a couple days ago, and when I finished these guys right here, so now I'm doing a mid-tone flesh tone, and again, trying to be a little messier. I don't want to get tight. I'd rather mess up this part of his face and sort of relaunch than get all tight. Anyway, a couple days ago, I just for curiosity wanted to know how many portraits I've done since the coronavirus hit, and it was 25, including 2 dogs, so that hardly counts, but and several house portraits as well. But anyway, so 23 human portraits, and this will be 24, 25. And I have a couple more lined up, so that's not bad. And then, of course, I did a what ended up being about a 22-foot mural, 8 feet by 22 feet, that I finished, and then they called me back to do more, so that's always a good problem to have. Anyway, I started out by asking about you, Barbara. Have you had a productive season? Those of us who work at home are truly blessed. David, I'm assuming, well, all of y'all, Uncle 60? By the way, I'm painting intentionally fast and messy over here right now. And of course I want most of the attention to go, as it should, to Darcy, to the bride. Very fun photograph. Not an easy one to paint. First of all, because it's flash. And second of all, because it's such an unconventional expression. I actually, believe it or not, tried to tone down her face ever so slightly. And I think I've done that. So we'll see. I think I have a likeness, but it just looks a little prettier. Art 8KC, Alejandro Camini Cruz. Hello from Ecuador. Did I say that right? Ecuador. Sorry, forgive me. Not very good. The last advertised price, AKC asks how much. I'm doing these for $395. Which is just, sorry, that's ridiculous. But hey, we've talked about this quite a bit over the last couple of months. The good news is I am 25 portraits smarter than I was 3 months ago. That's quite a bit. I'm 25 portraits smarter, and I'm certainly not any richer, but I have, one way or the other, managed to pay the mortgage. It has not been easy, but I have managed to pay the mortgage, so I've got a lot to be thankful for. And again, the experience for me of doing 25 more portraits. I'm not primarily a portrait painter. I'm assuming most of you know that, but that's not an excuse. That's not. Therefore, I don't care if I'm not good. That does not follow that statement. Do you understand? Oh, I want to be good at portraits. You know, his forehead's a little low, isn't it? I'm surprised David didn't call that out already. Isn't that right, David? You were just waiting your time. Whoa, David got 35 paintings done so far for an annual of 300 small 8 by 10 inch and 6 by 8 inch. Good for you. Hello, Monique. Good evening. It is late over there, isn't it? I think of you and others of you over there on the continent when I start broadcasting so late in the day. I do feel, I actually think about you and go, oh, I'm so sorry. I had hopes of broadcasting earlier, but, you know, life just gets in the way. Life and business. I'm happy to say I have a number of jobs lined up. So I'm very, very thankful for that. And I was working on some of the preparation work for some of those other jobs. Look at me, this is all right-hand painting, and yeah, it drives me crazy. if there's anybody new watching, let me explain that. I typically paint with two hands. Maybe I'll do some just for fun. I typically paint with two hands except when I'm doing small portraits, when tightness is the need of the hour. But still, this is not very tight up here. Yeah, almost midnight, Monique. I understand. I have a pretty good idea. Yeah, you're 6 hours ahead of us. I understand. Bless you. Well, good night when you have to leave. Hope you have a good night's sleep. I mean, the sun's already dipping toward the western horizon over here, so. It's been gone from your sky for hours and hours and hours. All right, I'm going to leave his face because I want to do some of the other things that I was planning to do. Feeling how dry. I worked on this painting this morning, mostly everything but her face, and I think her face is dry enough. So I'm going to do. I talked about this yesterday, I believe. My favorite way to finish a portrait after doing as much color matching and getting the quote-unquote the correct color as much as possible, using mostly opaque or translucent colors. The very last thing I like to do is transparent glazes on top of whatever I ended up with. So let me see, I think, oh yeah, good. I have here a slightly larger, I don't know if that's going to stay there. Anyway, so I have liquid on my brush and just a tiny bit of oxide red, and in fact, this is not going to stay. Hang on. In fact, in the photograph, her face has a slightly more warmth to it than my. So that's really good news, because that's what I'm going to add right now is warmth to her face. I'm going to move you guys in. You'll be very much in the way of my elbow here for a few minutes. And hopefully that will bear with me for a minute while I get you all pointed in the right direction. The stand that I use for my camera, by the way, it's essentially a mic stand, a microphone stand, and it telescopes high enough that it allows me to position the camera so you're actually looking down almost all the time on my paintings, which helps diminish the glare. All right, so I'm doing this oxide red, which is a brown, of course. It's very similar to burnt sienna. If you're not familiar with oxide red, it's a rust color, of course, oxide. It's a rust color brown, and it's working pretty well. Now, I'm being fairly careless, as you can probably tell. I'm not being very precise at all because the painting is dry, at least dry enough. I can put this on and then come back in a minute and lift off any that I feel needs lifting. I'm going to do the same thing with her tongue, except I'm going to add a little bit of Scarlet Lake to the mixture on my brush. Let's make her tongue just a little bit redder. No, that's too red. But there, that's about right. Now that I've got this red in my brush, do I want this anywhere in her face? I think I do. This is why I like glazing. First of all, transparent colors always look better than opaque colors. That doesn't mean you shouldn't use opaque colors, of course. In fact, in portraiture, I use quite a bit because you can't be as, I don't know, I'm going to get myself in trouble. When you're color mixing, matching, opaque is the way to go because you can get, that's the only way to get the exact color. But after that's done, then I come back and do transparent as you are seeing me do now. All right, I'm going to pick up a considerably larger brush, I guess, and lift out just with a dry brush. Yeah, that's nice. You understand when an artist says that. That's not a boast, like, dang, I'm good. That's really nice. No. I'm as surprised as anyone, right? So in case you don't know this, the process of painting, all beautiful painting, the process of painting can be described as taking guesses, trying your guess, and then evaluating. What I mean by that is you look at your painting and you think, I think it might look good if I did this or that or this or so. Some color, some texture, some hue, some value, some line, some whatever. And then you give it a try. And after trying it, you go, that didn't work as well as I had hoped, say. We say that a lot. And then other times you say, oh, that actually worked pretty good. And I'm saying all that partly in case there are any young or early journey painters watching, because I know that's the way you paint, and you might think that someday you grow out of that and you know what you're doing. Well, please relax. That's never going to happen, in my opinion. I mean, you can get pretty good at guessing. Don't misunderstand me. You can get pretty good at guessing, but it's still really at the very core, it's a guessing game. I think it's going to look good if I diminish the dark edge around her ear. That's what I'm saying right now. So I picked up a brownish yellow and then I say, yeah, took me a while to decide on that one. I think it looks good if I put a little highlight on this ear back here. Yeah, that was easy. That was a yes. I think she can use a little more accent highlight on her nose. I don't know, you can't tell from this photograph much. Maybe you can, but you know, Darcy is a very lovely, still is, a very lovely young lady. So in a sense, my job as the artist is just to try to capture, and it's true with all portraits, don't get me wrong, but you know, I'm not trying to tweak or push, although actually I did tweak and push her tongue a little bit. I did actually try to make her expression a little less extreme, which is dangerous. She's a little bit more squinty-eyed. I mean, her eyes are essentially completely closed, but you know, her cheeks in the photograph are pinched this way a little bit more, and I just relaxed them a little bit. Now, how about a tiny little highlight on her tongue? I think would be a good idea. Yeah, that's good. Boy, that's tiny. All right, I'm going to leave, and I'm going to back you guys up so you're not right in my way for a little while. And there are just a few other things I want to do. I signed the painting this morning, which sort of officially means, in my world, that means I'm officially almost finished. How's that for a... David says his right ear is too small. Well, you're right. Thank you, David. What else? Good night, Monique. Thanks for joining us. And his right ear seems low. Let's look. It's both. You're right. Thank you, David. It's both. It's too small because I don't go up high enough. So, whew. It's kind of a good news, bad news having you guys watch me paint, isn't it? Good news is you help me catch stuff. The bad news is you help me catch stuff. His mouth is still a mess. Okay, there's a, in the photograph, where did I put it? Oh, here it is. In the photograph, it looks as though there might be, it's definitely a church wedding. And there's my picture way up there. And it looks like there's maybe a church window or something up there. And I've included it right here, but I noticed after I stepped away from the painting for a while, it's like, oh, I did it all in one color, which is not, you know, I have a very regular practice of anytime you put a color down, especially if it covers any area of significance, you come back immediately, usually, and do a slightly lighter version of that color on top. What I just did, by the way, is too bright, so I'll just paint with my finger for a minute here. Paint with a rag. But I didn't do that here. I did all this orange with the same color paint, and frankly, that's irritating to the viewer. Now, the viewer doesn't know what it is that's irritating them about a painting. It's not their job to know. It's just their just their job to be irritated. But it is our job to know as many things as we can. Whew. Oh my goodness! I wish I knew more. I wish I knew more. I saw another Collie Wisson painting on Facebook or somewhere, maybe Instagram, the other day, and he makes me mad. I say that in jest. Actually met him. He's been to Raleigh several times, and what I mean is, dang, he's good. Collie Wisson, C-O-L-L-E-Y, I believe, W-H-I-S-S-O-N. He's from Australia. And if you're not familiar with him, go take a look. Really good painter, in my opinion. Very different from me in many respects. Definitely abstract realism, you know, same broad category, what most people call impressionistic, but abstract realism is a better term. So similar to me in the broadest of categories, but doggone it, he's better than me. And I hope you catch my true heart when I say that. When I see somebody who's better than me, first of all, I better admit it. And it's not really a comparing game. It's a growing game. It's a learning. How do I get better? So he knows, I'm saying, he knows something I don't know. And it's my job to find out what that is. So I look and I study and I read and I think and I take classes when I can, which is not very often. So I'm too busy, frankly, trying to pay the bills with my own artwork. So I don't have a lot of discretionary time or money to go take classes. One of the funny ironies about my career in the art business, I'm surrounded artistically by many people who paint for a hobby. Therefore, they have the luxury of going off and taking classes. They're retired, they have a retirement, so on and so forth. I have no retirement. My wife does not work. She has worked at times over the years, but she's not working outside the home now. She's a full-time grandma, and I'm not complaining. But I am hard-pressed to pay the bills all the time, so I don't have time to go take a class from Collie Wisson, even though I'd love to. Okay, let's repair his teeth now. So, hang on, let me keep score here. I had a punch list, one of which was that window. I've done that. His face, I haven't done that. I know one is his sleeve here. I've got a line here from his sleeve to the flesh color of his back of his hand is just way too hard. So I'll soften that. I'm a little disappointed there's no white shirt showing in the photograph and on either sleeve. Oh, I know, and then there's a little bit on his hand that needs a little. And I've toyed with the idea, and I guess I still am toying with the idea of adding just a sliver of a shirt sleeve there. Here's a lesson I learned in one of my portraits in the last 3 months. From portraits from photograph. If the photograph, in the photograph, the girl in particular, but really either one, that's assuming all of a sudden I was doing bride and groom. If their hands are in a funny position in the photograph, do not copy the funny hand. That's the case here. Darcy's hand, the camera caught her hand in the way we all do. You know, our faces can get caught in funny poses and expressions. And if we're running for political office, those are the photographs that are opposition. You notice that, don't you? You know, if you're running against Joe Biden, then you take all the pictures that make him look like a complete idiot and use that in your marketing. If you're running against, say, Donald Trump, you take all the photographs to make him look like an idiot. And it's sort of, it's goofy. Because I really think, being an artist, I really think too many people are influenced by that kind of chicanery that should not be. If I ruled the world, one rule would be you can't use stupid photographs of your opposition to make points. But they didn't ask me, and I don't rule the world, so thank God I don't rule the world. Dan Almighty. Oh, I watched the movie. You can probably see I've done a lot of that. Oh, I know. Here's another punch list. Her bridal veil up there at the very top of her head. Needs to be whiter. There's the photograph. Just a little bit of pretty bright stuff right there. Not pure titanium. There's no pure white anywhere on this canvas, as I'm sure you know. All the white's been warmed by something. Naples yellow or yellow ochre or something. Monique, good, still here. um, so I've done, I was saying, a lot of two-handed fuzz layer. I'm assuming you guys can see all this stuff here, including up here above her head. There's none of that in the photograph. That is all invented. There we go, that's better. I thought at several points about using a little edge of a palette knife to do some of the lace float, you know, the layers of lace, but I so far have decided not to do that, and I'm still thinking, no. So there you go. That's what it feels like to be an artist. You make guesses, and sometimes you guess to not do things. Yeah, I don't think I'll do that. And of course, there's some forgiveness. Not much in watercolor, as all you watercolorists know. Not much forgiveness in watercolor. Some, not nearly as much as there is in oil and acrylics. And yes, David, I think I'm done with their hands. I'm definitely at the point on this painting where I could fiddle and over fiddle. I could fiddle forever and overdo it. That would be so easy. I'm at that point. Oh, and I keep ignoring his face. That's a little highlight on her thumb here. And a little anatomy correction on her thumb. Tiny, tiny, tiny. And again, I'm not using, I am not using the photograph really at all. There we go. I wanted to see, do I have a color shaper? And I did. You know, here's the funny thing. I don't know if I've ever talked about this. Certainly not. It's amazing how many times in a painting, it's a good tool is just a sharp thing, a sharp anything. Like this. This is sort of compressed felt. It's called The Incredible Nib by Graphics. And it's just made for pushing color around. And it really is amazing how often it's a matter, I think it's mostly a matter of softening edges. Just going in there and just messing up a tiny bit. Haven't talked about. All right, now let's get back to, I don't know the groom's name, unfortunately. I knew this girl when she was born. 1981 or 2 or something like that. And so I saw her once 7 years ago. I can remember that, and I think that's all. We are friends on Facebook. I went and checked the other day. All right. There's too much darkness under the inside corner of his eye. And now there's too much dark out here. Now I'm squinting. There's too much dark in this corner of this eye. I would really like it if I could pull off a likeness. Without too much detail. I mean, this particular painting, the attention is so obviously on the bride. The cute pose, you know, the whole thing. And I'm very, very happy with the you know, the improvement I made from the flash down here on the lower part of her dress and eliminating that. So in my painting, the focus is where it should be. That's a big improvement. Anyway, she is so clearly I mean, every bride is, of course. The groom's just there to assist the bride. So I would really like it if I could pull off a likeness and keep his face. A little more abstract. Trying to not use the word loose, right? Phew. My stomach just told me it's about supper time too. So one little trick to try to keep from getting too tight is, if possible, and I'm not sure it's going to be possible, but if possible, avoid using a sable brush, right? Avoid using that super, that looks terrible. Oh my goodness. That might mean I'm not done tonight. Darn it, because I really wanted to put in my logbook tonight when I go to bed. I keep a record of everything not everything, but everything I accomplish, so to speak, in a day. Every day. Done this for about 10 years, and I found it is a really healthy discipline. Then at the end of the year, I actually count it all up. Of course, I know that means I'm a little bit of an OCD personality. Well, not D, but OC. Anyway, I really want to be able to record another finished portrait tonight, but I don't want to come back after supper, so I'm just going to mess up what I just did over here on his mouth. Just mess it up a little bit. And then come back and clean it up a little bit and see if he looks any better. But I'm not going to keep on broadcasting, and the changes I'm doing are too small for you to see. Almost, maybe completely too small for you to see. Anyway, so I don't know if there's anything else. I'm pretty happy with the abstraction in this part of the painting. There's a runner down the church aisle, the edge of pews here, the bottom of the stage. Her dad on the up there on the platform. He was the minister. Now somehow I lost all of his smile lines. He had too many, now he has too few. Say amen, somebody. Do you know the feeling? Do you know the feeling? That feeling that comes with doing portraits? Like, no sooner do you get one thing fixed than 14 other things go bad. At least 3. You know what? Darn it. I'm going to have to break down after all that. I'm going to use filbert. Okay, but that gives me the opportunity to say this. And not only do I say it to you guys, I say it to myself. Good for you, David. 300 paintings. That's fun. That's good. Yeah, small paintings. That helps, doesn't it? And not portraits. Okay, so what I want to say to myself while I'm saying it to you is, just because I'm using a brush right now that can indeed leave razor sharp accurate marks Just because I'm using a brush that can do that doesn't mean that I need to do that. Okay, so everything I just did was too sharp, but that's right, I can go back and mess it up. So that's just that I'm trying to. Okay, can you hear me now? Um, Testing 1, 2, 3. There we go. No. Oh, you hear me now? Wow. Okay, just a minute. In my ear and turn it back on to recalibrate. Bear with me, sorry. All right, I was just about to say I'm about to quit anyway. Do I have sound? All right, I don't have any sound in my ear, but I hear sound elsewhere, so we'll let it go with that. All right, thank you guys for your company and your fun presence. I have no idea what happened to the sound right there. Mysteries abound. Technological wizardry. Devilry. All right. Let me just turn it this way just long enough to say bye. Thank you for being here today. I appreciate it. So I will definitely be working tomorrow. I've got a oil painting on aluminum to get started. I've got a watercolor, pen and ink and watercolor sketch to get started. And I've got this to finish. And I've got another 3 boys at the beach oil painting. Good shot in my head. Anyway, there's my studio, by the way, for those of you who haven't seen that before. A little bit cleaner than it was a couple weeks ago because we spent a couple weeks finishing out an attic out here, finishing us out for storage, not for living. And for a while I had stuff piled to the ceiling in here. All right, so much for my personal problems. Thank you for being with me today. I appreciate it. And I hope to see you again real soon. Bye-bye.